Hey everybody, let's see how the old garden's doing. Got some little cherry tomatoes coming on over there. Lots of green tomatoes. Nice big cucumber there ready to go. Ooh, and jalapenos. Some Italian peppers. Oh yeah, peppers. Ooh, those are gonna be so good. Oh, the little cucamelons. Little guy down in there. Just getting started. Yeah. What is this? Oh! Yeah, it's that time of year again. The garden is getting going, and the squash are generally one of the first things to come on. And for those of you out there that grow these things, you already know that once they get started, they are relentless. You're going to be eating squash every day. So today, I'm going to show you another one of my favorite ways to prepare these guys. So let's get started. Alright, let's see how this goes this time. This is actually my second attempt at making this video. A couple of days ago, I'm down here recording. I go to wash my hands and there's no hot water. So I run out to the garage and skadoosh, there's just water gushing out the bottom of the water heater. So the last couple of days have been all about cleanup and cold showers and installing the new heater. But now I'm back here hustling to get this video out because squash in the garden waits for no one. So I've got my beautiful golden zucchini here, and of course you can use green zucchini with this. I think this will work with just about any of the summer squashes. Now, these squash are getting to be just about as big as I ever like to use them for most recipes, but you can get away with using pretty fat squash with this one because the first thing I'm going to do is to squeeze out a lot of the liquid from these. Those really big squash have got a ton of water in them, and that makes them less than desirable for a lot of recipes. But if you wring out a bunch of that water, they can still be useful for a handful of recipes. And of course, there does come a point where they're a lost cause, unless you're making a canoe. So, to get that extra water out, the first thing I'm going to do is grate and salt these. So I'll just nip off the ends of these. And a box grater makes really quick work of these things. They're nice and soft. So we'll just put a rough grate on them. And in addition to that squash, I'm gonna grate about half of a medium onion into this. Now, this is a pretty small onion, so I'll use a little bit more than half here. Now to help pull out some of that water, I'll go in there with a couple of teaspoons of salt and stir that all around. And now I'll just cover this up with a kitchen towel. Let this sit out at room temperature for at least 30 minutes, but I'll give it up to an hour, and that'll give me some time to get all the other ingredients together. Alright, let's see what's going on here. There, I've already got a good 3/4 of a cup of water out of there. I wonder how that tastes. Not great. Well, let me pitch that. And then we're gonna continue to get more water out of there by by squeezing this through a cheesecloth or an old t-shirt or kitchen towel, anything that you can wring out a bunch of that water with. We'll just gather that up. Just start wringing that water out of there. The more you can get out, the better. You're never gonna get it all. Just do your best. Get as much out of there as you can. Hey, there's another 3/4 of a cup or so. We doubled the amount of water we got out of there with the cheesecloth. Let's take a look at what we got here. Alright, looks like we got 2.5 cups or so. I'm really looking for about 2 cups for this recipe today. It's not something I generally measure out. I just eyeball everything in this, but I'm gonna do my best to give you guys a recipe that works out, that's easy to follow. Now let's take a look at all the ingredients for the recipe today. Of course, I have my Savagely Squozen Squash, and I've got 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder for just a little bit of puff, and 2 eggs. And these are the basic ingredients for the recipe. What you add after that for flavoring is up to you. I've got some things that I like. You can add as much or as little of these as you want, or do your own thing. This is home cooking, so you make it the way you like. Once you've got these ingredients, you're free to play around and get creative. So for mine, I'm gonna be using a bunch of fresh chive that I'm gonna mince real small. Green onion works fine here, but I've got chives growing in the garden, so I'm using chives today. I've got 1.5 teaspoons of sweet paprika. Smoked paprika would be really good in this as well. This is a cup of some Parmesan cheese, just the cheap stuff, but you use the expensive stuff if that's your style. But any cheese will work here, pretty much. Some cheddar would be very good, pepper jack, you name it. And I like something a little tart in there and a little spicy as well, so I'm gonna use some pickled jalapeno that I'm gonna dice up. Of course, we got some salt and pepper, and I'll throw in a little bit of garlic powder as well. But I'm not really gonna measure that. You know how much garlic you like. So let's put this together. All right. Looks like I ended up with about 1/2 cup of those chives. I really like that flavor a lot, so I'm going pretty heavy there. Looks like I got about the same amount of my diced jalapeno. This is gonna be about 1 cup of the cheese of your choice, flour, the baking soda, that sweet paprika, plenty of pepper. Hit that with a little garlic powder. Now let's stir this all up and do a little taste test before we get the eggs in there, in case you're a little nervous about raw egg. I'm not that nervous, but I understand if you are. It's already salty enough because of the way we salted that squash and onion, so I don't need to add any extra salt. And it tastes great, so let's go ahead and get these eggs in there. Uh-oh. And we'll give that a nice thorough stir, and then it's frying time. We're gonna shallow fry these in whatever cooking oil you like. And these are going to go at a slightly lower temperature than you fry a lot of things. Right around medium heat for these, because that cheese does tend to get darkened up pretty quick. So if you want them to stay nice and golden, you got to take your time just a little bit more than something that you're deep frying. Let's do a little chive test to see if that oil's hot. There we go, move it all around. As soon as I get some sizzle everywhere in the pan, we'll be good to go. Now this should be sort of a really thick batter, not like a dough. But if it's very watery and runny, it's just because you've got a little extra water in your squash. So you can go ahead and add in a little bit of flour, a little bit at a time, until you get to this kind of thick and pasty consistency. It should be just at the point where you could barely form a patty with your hands. But what I generally do is to just scoop out a small amount. You don't want to go too big with these or they're gonna get overcooked on the outside before the inside's done. So just around a golf ball size. And I just like to plop that right down into the pan and then flatten it out into about a 1/2 inch thick patty. That looks just about right. That looks good. You don't want to crowd the pan. And then don't move them around for a minute. They're going to be a little sticky at first. Once those start to cook a little on the underside, then I can move them around without worrying about them breaking apart. There we go. It's been about a minute. I can kind of see some color on the underside, so now I can break them loose. And like I said, I got to turn these around to get even cooking in this pan on this cooktop. Of course, that's not always going to be the case if you've got the right size cooktop. But there we go. Now they're nice and loose. And we'll fry these for around 3 minutes aside. We'll see. When that starts to bubble up through the middle of these, they're going to be ready to flip. And then we'll just cook them to a nice golden, maybe a little over golden brown to get a little extra crustiness on the outside. There we go. There's a little bit of bubbling coming up right through there. That should be fine. You don't necessarily have to wait that long. You don't want to go till they're boiling all over the top. But oh yeah, that looks nice right there. Very nice. Just a few minutes on that side until we get some nice color like this. Then we'll move these onto a cooling rack over here. I just give those a little tap in the center. If it springs right back at you, that's probably done. Oh yeah, beautiful. Now I'll just refresh a little bit of that oil and work through all that batter. let's see how we did. Those things look beautiful. Great color. It's real easy to church those up with just a little sprinkling of paprika and some more of those chives. Oh, these look excellent. Check out that bite. Oh, that's nice. They're really soft, very moist in the center, but that cheese makes a nice little crustiness on the outside. And these are gonna pair well with any sort of creamy sauce. I love some ranch, but this is a little garlic and pepper aioli. Oh yeah. Fantastic. Now squash can be a little bit bland. But this, with all that cheese and the chives and everything, this is just packed with flavor. Very, very good. Now, I really love summer squash. That's why I grow them. And I do make a ton of healthy squash recipes. Lots of steamed squash, and grilled squash, and sauteed squash, and stir-fried squash. But sometimes you just want something cheesy and fried, and this one really does that job for you. They got a great texture, great flavor. You'll even get your kids to eat their squash like this. Now I gotta think of what to call these things. Is that a zucchini pancake? Maybe a zucchini fritter? Shoot, if I'd have used my patty pan squash, they'd have been called patty cakes. Missed opportunity. So, to everybody out there that's got a garden, happy gardening to you. And if you've got zucchini coming out of your ears, give this one a try, because I know you're gonna love it. Thanks for watching. Mmm.